Ambition. Jay Leno once said that ambition beats genius 99% of the time. City of the Shroud is an ambitious, combo-based tactical action RPG inspired by Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics, and a giant step for developer and publisher Abyssal Arts, which, while far from perfect, succeeds in bringing a lot of original ideas to the fantasy genre they aspired to pay an homage to. City of the Shroud promised two key differences from other tactical RPGs as part of their Kickstarter pitch. One being an explosive, combo-based battle system, and the other being a story where your choices, and the choices of every other player, determine how it all plays out. The latter is something that I've never experienced before outright in a game, and is symbolized by the fact that only Chapter 1 will be available to play at launch. Later chapters in the story will not even be written until the developers receive information from player choices early on. This is a compelling method with interesting possibilities and limitations, and I'm very intrigued to see how exactly this will play out. We've seen games in the past change stories in response to consumer feedback, here's to you Mass Effect 3, but I struggle to think of examples in recent history where a reliance has been the aim from the outset. City of the Shroud tells the story like a visual novel, with scrolling text and beautifully detailed yet unchanging character images. This was ordinarily not an issue, although it would have been nice if the characters had different appearances every now and then. Having one character brag about wearing a new hat without actually wearing one, for example, is off-putting, and the fact that the same assets were used for many characters over and over again definitely took away from the effect of the narrative. The budgetary restraints that affect these scenes are a shame, as the story itself is very detailed, and indeed the majority of the game is spent clicking through and reading text. The story itself deals with issues surrounding refugees, poverty, corruption, and social classes, all around the context of a mysterious magical monster invasion through portals, not unlike Dragon Age Inquisition. For all the effort and many characters though, the plot can become a bit overburdensome in requiring the player to take in continuously large amounts of text to keep up with the story, especially as there are only around 4 opportunities to make meaningful choices within the entire 6 to 8 hours it takes to play through Chapter 1, and it takes a very long time to get to the first choice. There is also a notable lack of flow with the quests that are given, often with them just appearing at the demand of a new shining button, which can make the game seem like there aren't really any choices to be made as was promised, just prompts to follow. There is clearly talent in the writing, and some of it is playful, funny, and genuinely engaging. There was more than one occasion when I found myself skimming over and quickly skipping through large pieces of dialogue due to boredom and information overload. The music that plays in cutscenes and during battle is different enough to serve its purpose, though I played without it during later playthroughs and didn't feel like I was missing out on much. The real delight and potential in City of the Shroud is away from the story entirely and in the gameplay. Here, it's all about the wheel. This is what separates City of the Shroud from every other tactical RPG I've played. And getting to mold my characters to learn combinations and then using those combinations on the battlefield is genuinely satisfying and fun to learn. Basically, your characters build action points in real time or can collect AP through power-up squares on the board, which you can spend on movements or combo attacks using the radial menu. There appears to be a high threshold for tactical play for those who are willing to learn the game, and the highest level battles provide a compelling challenge. However, a few improvements could be made to the battles themselves. The developers decided to add a wait mode later on in production that meant the spacebar could be used to pause the game for players that wanted to create complicated combinations. Without using this, the battles felt tedious and erratic, but while using it, I felt like I was almost cheesing the game, and it lost a lot of its appeal of being live action into almost becoming turn-based strategy. I also started having some latency and frame rate issues when battles started involving multiple enemies, and I had to turn down the graphical settings just to get through these. Meanwhile, the inability to zoom out or change the view during battles is a glaring omission in strategy games, and I often had issues with large portions of the radial menu itself being outside of the screen when I wanted to use them. Ultimately, there is a lot of potential in City of the Shroud to become a very successful strategy RPG and online competitive network. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds in terms of multiplayer and promised mod support, but with a rumored price set to be around $20 USD on Steam upon release, City of the Shroud should be worth a look when the first chapter releases on August 10, with plans currently in place to port the game to consoles in 2019. I give City of the Shroud a 3.5 out of 5.